Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, chapter 22 of Shadows Rising by Madeline Rue. That rhymed. What do people even call the Shaw Flynn ship? Mathias Shawind? Let's go! Mathias Shaw looked around at the walls of his cell. He had to hand it to the Zandalari. Even the dungeons in the City of Gold lived up to the name. But a golden prison was still a prison. It was still bloody boring no matter how shiny and valuable the walls were. All Shaw had been able to do during his captivity was lie back on the rock-hard bench they'd given him for a bed and stare up at the cracks in the ceiling and count them over and over again. At least Fairwind and his crew had managed to escape, so that was cool. There was still the matter of whether or not they'd managed to make it back through the deadly impassable storm with a notoriously unreliable pirate at the helm, but 'twas not the worst odds Shaw had ever seen. Now there was just the matter of getting out of here. The Zandalari had treated him well enough, given him a bench for rest, slop for food, a bucket for toilet. They'd very wisely put him in a cell at the very end of the prison, meaning there were 24 cells in total between him and an exit. Plus, 2 sentries were always posted outside his tiny golden room. However, the current guards watching him looked a little bit wet behind the ears. Inexperienced, which was a bit weird. You'd think a spy master would warrant the best of the best of the best. This your first stint guarding the prison? The younger of the 2 trolls shifted from foot to foot and glanced to his mate. Don't look at him. Look at me. The troll then muttered something, but Mathias didn't quite catch it. You two not even a little bit curious about me? I don't bite, you know. We're not to talk to you. Says who? Overseer. Everyone. Just shut up. Shaw was pretty accustomed to this sort of thing, and he knew that any further probing for the time being would do more harm than good. So he left it at that. But a few days later, those same green guards returned for another shift. Bit boring down here, innit? I was going to take a vacation soon. Guess this is it now. Not really what I had in mind. Still silence from the guards. Thought I might disappear into the highlands. Got a cabin out there. Small. What you might call cosy. Yeah, just get up when I wake up. Go to bed when I feel like it. Work on my bird calls. It's nice. Whole thing sounds a bit lonely though, doesn't it? The younger of the 2 trolls nodded, forgetting himself. Yep, I'm good at that. Being alone comes natural to me. I was never that personable. I like watching people, observing, but I don't like being part of it, you know? But I suppose I should find a friend. Shaw then stopped, realising he'd accidentally stumbled into a truth without meaning to, and it was at that moment that he decided if or when he got out of here, one of the first things he was going to do was have a very private and personal conversation with a recently made acquaintance, and tell him how he really felt. He could just imagine it. Conditions would be perfect. They'd be on a mountain or something, and he'd start by being all like, I never got to finish telling you about my grandmother. And Flynn would say something flippant like, I thought you just wanted to watch the sunset. And Shaw would sigh and snap off a piece of grass and play with it. Not nervously though, in a sexy way. Pathonia Shaw. Pathonia? What a name. Full apologies to your granny. She's long dead, and it would take more than a cheap insult to bring on her fury. She was made of iron, caught 3 times for stealing, and given the choice by the guard of Stormwind. Work for them, or hang. Safe to assume she chose Stormwind. Yep, she chose Stormwind. She chose to assassinate whomever they told her to and make it look like an accident. She taught my mother the same trade, and when my mother died, Sonia taught me. You see, she didn't just choose Stormwind for herself. She chose Stormwind for me too. Bitterness broke the scene for Shaw, and he opened his eyes to see no sunset, no green grass, no Flynn beside him. How different would Shaw's life have been had he been given the choice to choose for himself? Did Flynn Fairwind feel the same? Doomed to a life of piracy and theft because his mother had put him on that path? Shaw then leaned against the cold gold wall and thought some more about freedom, about how much he'd felt it aboard the Bold Arva, and alongside the man that was there with him, a man that smelled like whiskey and salt and soap. The very next day, the smaller of the 2 troll guards slipped something under the cell door, a long wide piece of grass. Confused, Mathias picked it up and studied it. It wasn't much of a digging instrument, or a shiv, but then he remembered all that junk he'd spilled to the guards the previous day, and smiled. It was for his vacation, for the bird calls. So that was nice. Looked like Shaw had indeed made a friend. But screw that guy, he ain't no Flynn Fairwind. And we're leaving it there! I like making these little bottle episodes. Probably mainly because they're just easier, but also they tend to be quite character focused. I mean, this one alone has just added more depth to Mathias Shaw than I think we've ever seen before. As usual, link in the description if you're interested in buying this book. Also, there's links to my Discord server and my Patreon page too. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!